Hello, beloved soul. I hope you're doing phenomenal. What a portal, this 8-8 portal. What a year of a portal of the 9. So I know we're all going through it. The shifts, the deaths, the grief, the letting go, the pain, the horrors we're witnessing right now. So wherever you are, I want you to know I'm right there with you, and I feel you. I feel so much right now, and I think more than ever it's so important for us to be in community with soul beings that know and remember who we are and what we came here to be on this earth. So I want to talk to you guys about this amazing journey that I have created and I've been dreaming about for years now, and this is our 4th time that we have the opportunity to go to Kemet, currently known as Egypt, but formerly known as Kemet. And I have been having these dreams of journeying there. When I was a teenager, I got to visit Cairo and Kemet and Luxor. I got to visit all these amazing places with my father back then, who was joining someone who was focusing on extraterrestrials, to find answers of how these temples, how these structures, how these pyramids were built in such perfect precision, connected to the stars, connected to the alignment of how much the circumference is around the planet Earth, in exact measurement of the direction of the north. And here the wind is confirming the things that I'm sharing with you. Yes, yes, yes. And when I reached Egypt for the first time, I was 17 years old, 16 turning into 17. It was around my birthday in December. And we got to visit all these amazing places, including, why is it not coming to me right now? Mountain of Moses, Mount Sinai. But the weather was not good enough, and so we only made it about 3/4 up, and then they told us we can't make it all the way up to the mountain where Moses wrote the 10 commandments. But that is a side note. So what I'm here to share with you guys is we get to go on an adventure of a lifetime, on a journey of a lifetime. This is not the average vacation that you might decide to hop on. This is for people, for the souls that have been dreaming about going back home to Kemet. An inner knowing of knowing you have been there before. An inner knowing that there is something there for you to go and reclaim, to go and remember. And I'm going to share some highlights of this amazing journey, and then in one of my future videos I will actually go through the entire journey of the 12 nights, 13-day journey that we get to go. So on November 10th is when we all will meet up in Cairo, which is the capital of Egypt. And that is also where all these magnificent great pyramids of Giza are. So we get to visit the 7 pyramids that are in Giza. And you might be surprised that when you get there to Cairo, similar to how when you arrive in New York, that the pyramids are visible right there. So the big city with the hustle and bustle, the city that never sleeps. If you thought New York never sleeps, you need to go to Cairo. Cairo never sleeps. And they also don't have any street lights, so that is an adventure on its own. But I actually never saw any accidents, and this will be our 4th retreat this November, and I went with my father once before, so it'll be my 5th time visiting Egypt, and I've never seen an accident, and there's no street lights, so it's energetic. They look at each other and they know what's up. So we get to visit in Cairo, and we get to visit the Great Pyramid of Giza and the Great Chamber, and we have it reserved specially just for our intimate group, to open up the portal of the 1111. The 1111 is the portal of angelic realms, where things are possible that are usually not. So a perfect timing and alignment of time to be able to allow the container for us to connect with our highest realms and our past lifetimes and our mission of what is needed right now in this world, and what did we sign up before we even came onto this earth So a perfect portal for us to open up, and we have this space rented privately, so we can meditate, we can ground in the space. And what I can share outside of what I need you, well, not, I don't need you, but what you're gonna experience yourself there is, it's a energy portal. So what I mean by that, it's literally a charging up portal. So every time I go into the Great Pyramid of Giza and go inside the Great Chamber, it's like a battery is infused in me, meaning it's really tough to sleep because your energy is charged up. And most of my clients have a similar challenge. So it is an opportunity for us to calibrate and really feel that frequency. And I really encourage you, all of you guys, to come inside the pyramid. There is some initiation that goes with that, which means to overcome potential fears of tight spaces, humbling our body and our spirit and our mind into becoming like a lowered position to crawl through the different channels to be able to get to the great sacred chamber. And when you get to go inside the pyramid, you look at the walls and you can see that these blocks are tons heavy. They explain it to us how big and heavy these marble blocks are that they created the pyramids with. They are completely lined up straight. There is not slight unevenness, and those are made out of rocks inside the sacred chamber, which is at the very top of the pyramid. So how did they do this? How did they create this? So we get to be in awe from the moment we arrive in Egypt. From the moment we arrive, we get to be in awe at these colossal creations. And on our next day, we get to visit Saqqara, which is a very special place and very important and pivotal component to discuss. Our beautiful sacred scholar, Imhotep, who back in the day was a commoner. He was not royalty initially, but was very intelligent, very smart, and understood a lot of things. So he was studying mathematics and medicine and astronomy and astrology. And a lot of things we still experience nowadays still are connected to some of his inventions. So what he did, and an architect, by the way, just an architect, one of the most famous architects in this world, what he figured out was how to create the stepping pyramid. So the blueprint of the perfect angles of how to create pyramids with the right amount of blocks, with the right heaviness. So mathematics genius, so that they would still stand 5,000 years later. You know, people argue it's 3.5, 5,000, maybe more, but in that range, thousands of years. And so when he created the stepping pyramid in Saqqara, which was the capital at one point in Egypt, everybody copied the blueprint of the angles of how he created them. And from that moment on, all the pyramids that were created with his blueprints, those are the ones that are still standing. So all the pyramids we get to see in Egypt are created after his blueprints. So I always want to talk about him, of how amazing he is and how he then became royalty. But that's time for another story. Part 3, we're going to discuss Imhotep specifically. So we are now in the Saqqara pyramids, where we get to see the Book of the Dead described, inscripted on the walls. And that took me a while to figure out. I've had to ask several people to find out, so where is this Book of the Dead? Is that actually a real book? Is it different scrolls? Was it burned down in the Library of Alexandria? No, our guide said it's written on the walls of Saqqara. So I'm really excited to be able to go back and read more and learn more, and visit this beautiful halls and the portals that he created in Imhotep. We have so many amazing things that we get to visit. I want you to know each day is spiked through with this amazing moments of awe and wonder and magnificence and the great magnitude of how our ancient ancestors in Egypt and Kemet created these places. Another component that is very exciting for us to be able to go visit is Isis Temple on her island, Philae. And her temple is stunning on this island, looking out on the Nile everywhere that she is. And the frequency there is beautiful and sweet and powerful and feminine, a little bit like Aphrodite. She reminds me a lot of that. And so we'll ride a boat to be able, a felucca boat, where we'll play some beautiful music while we ride over like the royalty, like the pharaohs in ancient times, and get to visit Isis, formerly known as Aset Temple, and visit that temple. That temple always brings up such pleasure for me. I have times where I just want to sing to her and shower her with so much love. She has been such a profound connection for me for many, many, many years. So yes, I carry her with me. So to continue on, Isis Temple is one of the places we get to visit, and we continue on to visit a Nubian village, which is one of the last indigenous tribes in Egypt from the Kemetic time. And these beautiful beings have their towns painted all in all the beautiful, magnificent, bright colors, mainly in blue, and then they add different color components. So we get to visit their village, we get to sit with them and have an amazing home-cooked meal and dance with them, and they share their dance moves of their indigenous practices and the drums. And for the ones that are up to it, will be able to receive a beautiful henna from them, as it is part of their tradition. And of course, we will go visit their market. They have amazing spices and goods that they create, so we get to be able to be blessed by what they create. Other highlight that I'm just so excited to be able to share with you guys, that we get to do this, and this is actually my first year as well. It is an experience I've been calling in and asking and figuring out who has the opportunity and the connection to be able to do that. So this year it has happened. Thank you, Robbie. We're gonna visit a lotus garden. And I know a lot of us work with the flower lotus and the deep, meaningful connection of that the lotus grows through the mud, and through the mud, she's still able to prevail and grow the most beautiful petals in a sacred geometrical alignment. So we get to visit a garden, we get to connect with the farmers and the wisdom keepers and the land keepers, and talk to the land and bring some offerings and bring some of these beautiful, magnificent flowers and blessings back home with us to continue the work, to deepen the work. Which brings me that when we are on our beautiful private sailboat, which is called the Sanctuary, a sailboat that was built with the intention of being able to float on the River Nile, to be held in a beautiful way, in a feminine way, where we have spaces to have tea, lotus tea. We will be able to have a beautiful cacao ceremony with lotus on the River Nile on our sailboat called the Habaya sailboat. And the beauty of this boat and the luxury that we were able to reserve this boat just for our group, right? Which means I really only have 13 spots, depending on who wants to share a bed, a room with someone on this journey. So a small, intimate group where we can get to deepen the connections and the experiences and the activations that have happened to us, through us, when we visit those temples. As we are riding on this beautiful boat, we are on the River Nile, which is not the ocean. So for anyone that is hesitant of like, oh, I don't know if I can be on this boat, it goes straight down. I've had folks that have issues with vertigo and dizziness on the boat. So they had absolutely no issues on the boat, because we also dock some nights in certain areas until we get to the next space. But just like the ancient pharaohs and royalty, we ride on the River Nile, and we get to stop and visit the beautiful temples along the path. From Edfu Temple, the Temple of Medicine, from the Temple of Horus, the Temple of Kom Ombo, which is the Temple of the Crocodiles, which a lot of the ancient Kemetic people drew strength and power from, similar to how the indigenous people drew strength from the buffalo. So it's a protection item, and they have a whole temple dedicated to Sobek, which is our deity of the crocodile, which is protective and empowering and living in the River Nile. Now, unfortunately, they are extinct in one side of the River Nile because of habitation and modern construction, modern living, and how things are right now. So anyways, Kom Ombo is the temple we get to visit, which I love, and then you get to see that they mummified the crocodiles because they respect them so much, and a lot of houses actually use some of the crocodile tails or part of the crocodile skeleton to protect their house right outside. So that is a very typical Nubian tradition, and that they still practice till now. So when you go there, you can still see that. So Kom Ombo, Edfu Temple, Isis Temple I already mentioned, and then we also get to visit one of my most favorite temples in the whole wide world. It is a visual delight. It is a visual orgasmic experience to be able to go visit Dendera Temple. Dendera Temple is the temple of the deity and the goddess Hathor. Hathor is the deity with the cow features, so human / cow being, which is the deity that is in charge of harvest celebration, abundance, beauty, agriculture, blessings of nutrition, things like that, and music and dance and the artistry. So that is Hathor. And so her temple, known as the Temple of Celebration, where they came and celebrated together. I heard there might have been even some sensual activations happening there, or some more. I'm not going to go too deep into this public platform, but when you are hopping with me on Zoom, when I talk about the trip, I'll be able to share a little bit more about what happened in Dendera. But the main highlight, or one of the main highlights of that temple, is that the entire temple, from the bottom to the top, the ceilings, they're all inscripted with hieroglyphs, and they're all painted in this royal blue. So different shades of blue. So I'm going to share a little more videos about Hathor, or Dendera Temple, and you have all the pillars dedicated to Hathor. So the goddess with the cow ears, that when you recognize that you know that is Hathor. And I love the temple because visually it is absolutely breathtaking to be in a room where everything is blue. This is thousands of years old, and each wall from top to bottom, every inch that you can look at, is inscribed with hieroglyphs. So the artistry itself of just the inside is absolutely breathtaking, absolutely marvelous. It's unbelievable when you look at it. You're like, how did they do this? Because the ceilings are very high. So how, what kind of ladders did you have thousands of years ago to be able to go all the way up there? And then the ceiling, right? The ceiling, inscribed and painted in different shades of blue. So one of my favorites. And I love the frequency there. You can feel the joy and the sensuality and love that happen in there. You can feel different frequencies when you go to different places. When we visit Luxor, which is the city of gold, that's the name of what that means, we get to visit the two big temples that I think most people are familiar with and have seen big images of them, which is Karnak Temple and Luxor Temple. And over the years, it's been really beautiful that the road between Karnak and Luxor Temple, it's called the Alley of the Sphinx, got rebuilt, refurbished, restored, and so you can actually walk now from one place to the next. So the day we visit Luxor Temple, we visit Luxor throughout the day, which is one of the biggest temples in the world. This is a temple that was built over a span of 1,000 years, where each pharaoh wanted to show that they had a bit of bigger junk. What do I mean by that? They all wanted to build as big pillars, as massive pillars as possible, as many as possible, in order to show off that their reign, when they were reigning in that time frame, that they were powerful and bigger and better than the one before. So over the span of 1,000 years, these pillars were built. So it is so much space for us to walk through, to be able to walk through those pillars. It's also the most popular space in Egypt. And so we are always mindful to walk it with respect and honor. There has gotten more commercialized over the years that we've been there. And so I really recommend for folks to tap into Egypt sooner than later, because I can feel how the government is really understanding of how blessed they are with what they have, but how much abundance they can create with it by making it more commercialized, which makes it more challenging for the ones who want to be able to connect on a spiritual level, on a frequency level, outside of just witnessing its beauty from walking through the space in crowded spaces. So we're very intentional with looking at what times we're going, and that has been coming through for over the years of working and going and visiting and listening to feedback of our guests of what would make this experience even better. So that is the last of our temples that we get to visit, but we also get to visit the Valley of the Dead, the Valley of the Kings, where all the pharaohs and royalty decided to get buried, right? They wanted to get buried in the east because the sun rises in the west and it sets in the east. So their goal is to be able to be so intentional with everything that they do to be ready to go into the afterlife. So the Valley of the Dead, we get to visit some of those tombs. Absolutely breathtaking. Again, these halls are full of color, and I was just so curious to understand how and why and how things are being done. And so one of the things that are really astounding is that a lot of the colors that we get to see there are made by natural ingredients. So eggshell, turmeric, hibiscus. They also ground up a lot of different crystals in order to create colors like malachite, turquoise, and created different colors. And these colors are still here and vibrant. So wow. Talking about earth colors, of the incredibleness of what we can decide to create that has longevity. And then we get to visit, it's also a temple. So I was not correct when I said it's the last temple. So we get to visit the Temple of Hatshepsut. Hatshepsut is a little more unique. I don't necessarily, I guess, look at it as a temple so much, because it is more than a temple, in my opinion. It's her sanctuary where she lived, where she grew. She is one of the most famous female pharaohs who ruled Egypt for close to 20 years and did that extremely powerfully and successfully, and amassed so much wealth and richness for our Kemetic people. Back then, the land of Kemet was much larger. It spanned all the way out to almost Ethiopia, Jordan, Sudan. All these parts were part of Kemet at certain times. Mesopotamia was the original name, and she was very smart and very diplomatic at communicating with the different parts and working on import and export. And she had her own perfumes. So if you go to the museum, there's an area where you can still smell the perfume they created for her. So talking about endorsement, probably one of the first ones that we know of so far that created her own scent based on who she is. So it is the land of perfumes. It is the land of scents and flowers and roses and lotuses and beautiful incenses that grows on these lands. It is the land of dates and olives and chickpeas and hummus and grilled vegetables and delicious herbs and wonderful meats that are grilled and flavored with so much delicious flavor. The land of spices. I can just share that is one of my, no, I cannot even say that it's one of my favorite things, because it's literally sprinkled, the entire trip is sprinkled with favorite experiences that are somatically reminding you of who you are, somatically activating in your inner child, activating your divine being inside of you. So the royalty of being able to navigate this land without having to lift a finger. Everyone will carry your bags. It is a place in a country of service and treating women like royalty. So that is another really pleasurable experience when you get there. A big component I want to share with you guys is when I create these spaces, when I create or envision and listen to spirit, what is it that we need to experience this year? They told me last year, deeply, 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 whatever you do, Paola, your element is the water. So the water is part of it. It is a requirement. And being able to be on the boat and travel on the river Nile for 3 nights and spend our nights there and rest on there and be able to meditate on this boat and do our yoga ceremonies and sit with tea and have our journaling and have a silent morning to be able to really integrate all the things that have come up throughout this trip, from going into all these sacred spaces and sacred temples and pyramids and the land, connecting with the land and the farms and with the people that live on this land and the people that have lived there on this land before. So there's so much that gets activated. So when we are on the River Nile for the last 3 nights, not the last 3 nights, but for 3 nights before we head to the beach, this is the opportunity to help and allow these codes to come through, the reawakening, the remembrance of who we are, and maybe the lifetimes that you've been there, just like I did on one of the first trips that I was there, that you remembered you were there. Some people feel it, some people see visions, some people feel an activation within their body. A lot of us cry, break down, shake in different parts, that we have a remembrance in our bodies, in our inner self, in our inner knowing, through prayer, through offerings that we bring on the land and on these beautiful spaces. So the quiet morning is an absolute beautiful time. And then we also get to be creative. We get to do something with our hands. We get to do some crafting, some jewelry making on the boat with one of my beloved facilitators, Fati. I'm really excited for her to join us. And after we complete our 3 nights on the boat, we get to swim in the River Nile, and I offer an Oshun ceremony. Oshun is the sweet water deity that helps us remember the sweetness and the flow of the water within us. So we come with reverence and love, and we bring flowers to her, connect with her as a friend, bring her sweetness, bring her honey, and be dressed in gold and yellow and dance for her. And then we get to swim in the River Nile. And I'm so excited we get to be in a beautiful space that is made for us to swim and be anointed and blessed by the sweet River Nile. And you would think this should be it, right? But it isn't, because after all that, before we head home and get back into our realm, we're gonna head to a place that's called Marsa Matruh, which they say is the Maldives of Egypt. And each year after our retreats, I have the opportunity to go there to retreat, to be in this crystal clear waters, pure white sand, an empty beach, a beautiful spa hotel that has a sauna and has a jacuzzi and a beautiful pool. Just the perfect place for us to treat and nourish our bodies and our mind and allow our soul to dangle. And on our last night, we get to commune with Yamaya for a beautiful rose ceremony by the beach, and have a closing ceremony to honor all that has come true, to share what has come up, to be in community with our beloved community that decided, yes, this is the journey for me, because they know it's the time. You know it's the time. You know you are meant to do this, and you have always actually dreamed about this, and you want to travel in a way that's intentional, where you get to be able to connect your spiritual journey with your version of you that wants to be an adventurer and is ready to up level to the next level that you said you came here to be, in the biggest fullness, and allow the transformation of the sacred portal of Kemet unlock what is ready to be unlocked. And I'm here and ready to hold the space for you. And that is our main trip, spending 2 nights in Marsa Matruh, charging our bodies up, closing out with Yemaya, dancing with her, the deity of the ocean, the mother of all beings in our African tradition. And then we're gonna head out for part 2 for the ones that are able to invest and wanna do it with a big bang and say, you know what, I'm already here. I heard of this place in the desert that is really special and very unique in this world, and I'm already there and I wanna do this part 2. So for that, tune into the next call. But this is a magnificent journey of 12 nights, 4 nights in Cairo, 2 nights in Luxor, 3 nights on our magnificent boat that is just for us, built on a crystal grid, riding on the River Nile, beautiful and slow and intentional, and then 2 nights on the beach. So that is our 12-night journey, and listen to our next video to hear what is this magical place that is very unique in this world, and that there's not many places in this world that hold this frequency of a desert and the saltwater oasis. Listen to next call.